So today we're talking about the cycles that we don't see. Last year at this time, I had wrote an article. It was basically an open letter to Biden when he decided to pardon his son, which I'm not opposed to him pardoning his son. Um, I think that that's fine. What my issue was his participation in the crime bill and his refusal to pardon some of those people that have been doing 20 years for some weed. Okay. So I was talking about those cycles, justice not being something that is equitable and what that looks like, and just running through these cycles. So take a breath. Yes. Drink some water. I've already had my tea. I'm going to have coffee later on. Ingrid says, I love astrology. Looking forward to those articles. Oh, it is so good. They are so good, right? Like, so this one is not a part of that series, but it was ran then. Um, but yes, and I have all of Leah's information in the articles too. So if you guys want to check Leah out with astrology, because she is the one who provided the birth chart for Christianity and gave me those astrological insights to where we are while we follow that arc. So today's three topics, right? Because we have three talking points. I have this cool little apparatus now that holds my phone and that holds my laptop. I think I'm fancy. See? Getting cozy. Let me see. I could take it down. I don't want to take it down. Maybe at the end I'll take it down because if I take it down, then it'll mess up or something. So, three talking points. One, cycles of power, how selective justice repeats itself. Two, holiday polarization is not accidental, it's a control cycle. Three, how we create harm reduce spaces for people leaving these systems. All of these things are vital as we are in this holiday season. And it may seem arbitrary, but it's not, because many of us will go home or be around people or feel bereft because we're not around certain people based on where we are politically, right? And the goal is to just sit down and really recognize for myself, I like to put the onus on these systems, right? And like take a great broad look at these systems and then hold people accountable for how they're holding up these systems. It makes it easier for conversation, at least for me. It makes communication go a little bit better because it's less finger wagging, like you are a problem, and it's more systems thinking, like, okay, here's the system, and how are you upholding that? And how can you work at dismantling it? All right. So grab your drinks. Okay. Take a breath. One, cycles of power and how selective justice repeats itself. Every generation tells itself it's choosing the lesser of two evils, when really it's choosing evil with a nicer face. And because dominant culture gets to choose, that choice becomes law, policy, punishment, and consequence for everyone else. The conversations that are being had, I have a few Facebook groups that will eventually merge into the Liberation Education Academy because that space has a free option too. And it's going to be running like a same Facebook community, but like without the doom scrolling, right? Like you came in here for these sorts of things, these groups, these conversations focus. But I am really realizing how polarized things are. And even in spaces that it's supposed to be intersectional, it is still us versus them. And that is not a way to dismantle systems. That is a way to keep people on their side. And it's not to say that voting habits do not indicate something about a person, but I do not think that it indicates a full character. One, we're not educated enough as a nation in regard to politics to really fully believe that everyone understands. You could see that with a lot of people are watching the political theater that's happening. And like, I had no idea that this is what X meant or what Y meant or how this lands. I did an article or rather a long form Facebook post about abortion. I was like, abortion, the way it's been handed to us is something that is elective, right? Like, oh, I don't want a baby. I'm going to go and have an abortion, opposed to it being medical jargon and language, right? So a miscarriage is considered incomplete abortion, right? Or like DNC. Abortive language is necessary in the medical field. And we are losing women and birthing people at alarming rates for things that could be avoided because of language and coding, because we're going off of emotions and us versus them instead of actually recognizing that the people that are making the laws are very deeply intentional about keeping us uninformed and ignorant. Okay. So that polarization becomes its own problem, right? And not a real true way of building community because you cannot discern who's actually dangerous. You just can't. I can't turn around and say somebody who voted for Trump is dangerous to me because Ma do they know? I need to know. Do you know? Do you know what all of your vote meant? Can we have that conversation? Can we get more curious so I could really decipher who should be around, who is safe, who is not, right? Like gathering all of that information. And the reason why I say the lesser of two evils is because when whiteness as a system is centered, it's never looking at anybody else. Biden for me was dangerous. Right? I grew up in the 90s. I grew up with in the era of, Hillary Clinton calling black kids, black boys super predators. I was a victim of being a super predator, right? Got into a fight in school and wound up on probation until I was 18, because we're violent and super predators. So you have to think about who you're talking about when you're saying the lesser of two evils is who's going to hold on to the brunt of your lesser evil. Okay? And that's usually not you. So, tells itself that it's choosing the lesser of two evils. Expanded point. Biden pardoning Hunter was in that cycle. That was real time. That wasn't the issue, right? Having that conversation. Last year, I talked about selective prosecution. And here we are again with the same system, the same playbook, and with a different administration. It doesn't change unless we change the game, not the players. Obama was no better, right? I liked him because he was black. It was nice to see a black man, right? A black family in the White House. That was a beautiful change. But similar to how the ending of enslavement brought 100-year backlash, that's what we're living in right now, is the 100-year backlash of having a black family in the White House. These are cycles repeating themselves. I want us to constantly recognize that nothing is new. Nothing is new. These cycles are just going to keep on going until we can name them and actually break away from them. Good morning, Vix. Hey, Luna. Hi, Dana. When systems are not dismantled, they simply shift shape. The dominant culture mistakes privilege for moral clarity and then calls it justice, right? So, this idea when you guys are battling within each other, everybody else is sitting on the sideline waiting to be hit with the brunt of it, right? Because the war that is happening, war on holidays, Christmases, voting, all of it is an internal war of whiteness. It has never not been. It has never not been. It is that racism is low-hanging fruit, and it is an easy thing to attack simply because we obviously look different. So it's easy to do that. But until you are not sitting down and really recognizing that this is its own internal war and has been, as we are going through recognizing how we got here, you will not be able to truthfully dismantle the system and create community and the parallel systems that we are seeking to build. Ariana says, good morning, Des. You look radiant this morning. Do I? I put on some rosemary oil on my skin and I popped on some fake nails. I wanted to be glittery for you guys. Do you like that? Thank you. And of course, my cozy hat because it's just like my comfort item. So the reframe here is you are not watching hypocrisy. You are watching the predictable math of supremacy culture playing out. Supremacy doesn't correct itself, it protects itself over and over again. And I want us to really sit down and think about what it looks like to those who are harmed the most for you to quantify the harm. This person is worse than this person. To whom? To whom? Some conversations that you hear or are seeing amongst Black people and other marginalized beings are living room conversations that you don't necessarily need to chime in on or have experience with. So when you're really sitting down and doing your own work, your own internal work, you have to ask those questions. And I recognize that we're on social media, so every conversation feels like it is for everybody to have, but it's not. You are You are privy and being privileged into living room conversations, into conversations that have been happening in the homes of marginalized people for generations. And it is something for you to observe and then get curious about what is the work that I need to be doing internally within my own self, within my own family systems, within my own community to dismantle this so that it impacts them less. Not trying to jump into that conversation or hold those same positions because you are not going to be impacted in the same way. I hope that that makes sense. So the reflection here is, where do you see yourself choosing lesser evil? And instead of confronting the system that gives you the evil to choose from, right? Because many Black people, when you hear the idea of the lesser of two evils or Indigenous people that are having these conversations and other marginalized beings, it's harm reduction for us. It's not, yes, this person is a better person. They're all terrible. They're all upholding these systems of supremacy that impact us. It's harm reduction, right? The vote, the idea for Kamala was harm reduction. Nobody, not me. Like, but let me not say nobody. Many were not just like, yes, this is the candidate. This is who we want. I am just so thrilled about this choice in front of me. It was, this is a stop the bleed vote. Right. So when you're going through these things and when you are doing these reframes, you have to ask yourself, what is the stop the bleed? Right. And when we're reaching across the aisle, when we're having these conversations as these holidays are coming up, as we are recognizing and tracing the arc of Christianity, and we are recognizing these cycles and these systems, where's your harm reduction? Like, what can you actively do to make it less harmful? Does that mean that you have those uncomfortable conversations? Does that mean that you release that right to comfort? Does that mean that you release your idea that your positionality is the moral right lane, right? Because it may not be. Just a thought. Sarah, I'm going to be moving through these in a timely fashion because today, Shady Baby got a gift for her teacher. Her birthday was Saturday, plus she's having a baby, and we forgot it here. And my baby is at school. Devastated, devastated. So if it feels a little bit rushed, I apologize for that. I just also want to meet my obligations with you guys and meet the emotional needs of my baby, who is like real tears sobbing that she left this gift. And they're telling her now, mom is going to come. Mom is doing her live, but mom is going to bring it. So that is where my I wanna say, because it's not urgency, but, like, where my efficient my efficient delivery is coming from this morning, okay? Good morning, Heather. 2, holiday polarization is not accidental, it's a control cycle. Those, it's not Merry Christmas. It's not Happy Holidays, it's Merry Christmas. Yo, there's like 80 holidays going on right now at this time. Take a breath. It's okay if somebody says Happy Holidays, right? I went to the gas station this morning because I literally was out of gas in my driveway. I was like, oh my God, let me go run to the gas station real quick. I won't even make it around the corner. I got to choose which direction I'm going to. Either I go to the school and push this truck or go to the gas station. And I went in, and these are the even in a healthy way, how unconscious bias will show up. Um, and there's like Christmas music playing, and these people are not, uh, you know. I'm like sitting here and I'm like, why is there Christmas music? This is my mind going on, right? Because I have all of these thoughts now, right? These are brown people, Indians, like, aren't you a whole other religion, style, this, that, and other thing? Are you catering? These are the kind of questions, my ADHD thoughts. Are you catering to the audience here? But all of this will play in your mind, right? Even as you're doing this deconstruction work, and that is okay. You have to name that. And I was like, wow, Des, they could be totally Christian Americans. Like you just came in with all your little thoughts and laid it on these people as their truth. And for all you know, they're jamming and like happy to celebrate Christmas. And I'm like, okay. Those are those things, right? So every year around this time, polarization spikes, right? Merry Christmas, not Happy Holidays. Real Americans celebrate this way, put Christ back into Christmas. And it's not random. It is not random. Good morning, KK. It's not random. It's the annual tightening of the supremacy culture, right? Through nostalgia, through the desire for connection, through the desire for community, all of these things are able to play out easier, right? We want to be with family. We want to spend time with those that we care about. We miss our childhood memories, some of us. We miss what it could have been, what it would have been. Some of us are in better positions than we were as children and are able to do more as adults for those around us. And you want to participate. And all of this, they will tug at that. They will tug at that and knowing they could get you. The nationalism, the Christian nationalism is going to spike around this time. The supremacy culture is going to feel like a chokehold. The family obligations are going to feel weighted and heavy. Some of them are great, some of them are not so much. But these are cycles and these are systems doing what systems do. They know, right? I keep reminding you guys that America is a business and a business has to always be selling. That, that's that's how you survive capitalism. There's no way to not. And in order to sell, you need to be marketing. So, giving us this view of Christmas, put the Christ back in Christmas, whilst deporting people, whilst chasing down indigenous people, locking up children, disabled people, doing all of this. We're supposed to ignore all of that and have a feel good holiday time. Aren't you just so happy during this time of year? And we can't pretend that these things are not happening, that it is still also important to acknowledge and recognize these systems. And in doing so, you could turn around and say, how could this be different next year? What do we do to dismantle it? How do we call these people in, not necessarily call them out, right? How do you have that conversation with these family members on like, okay, hey, you're talking about put the Christ back in Christmas. Let's talk about the Christmas story, right? Let's go back to that. Let's talk about how Christ's family was refugees seeking shelter, running away. What does that look like, right? What does it look like to actually have the word of Christ in front of you and be like, does this feel anything like these cycles and systems? Like, I want you guys to really be able to gird yourselves up to have very uncomfortable conversations. Like, you're going to have to confront things. You're going to have to. You're gonna have to. I don't even like I'm like looking, searching, thinking for words. You're gonna have to have uncomfortable conversations. You want to have community, you want to have healthy relationships, you're gonna have to have confrontation. And that fear of open conflict is always going to come up. But there's no real peace in a place, in a family, in a space where we can't have a conversation. If I cannot talk to you, if I cannot say, hey, when you said this, that, and the other thing, it didn't land the way you thought it was going to land. And this is how I received it. Can we talk about it? Yes, we can. Oh, I love that, right? An opportunity for repair, an opportunity to enlighten someone, an opportunity to have conversation, an opportunity for you to learn something as well, right? You may learn that the person that you thought they were is not exactly who they were. You may learn that they didn't know X, Y, and Z, and you just taught them something, and vice versa. Tiffany says, "Oh, so true. And I struggle with confrontation so much because of the way I was raised." Yes, we are raised some. Many of us are raised to not have confrontation. I was not raised that way. We gonna air this shit out. We're going to air it out, open the doors, open the window, air it out. It's gonna be uncomfortable, but we're gonna sit down and we're gonna do it. And like, hey, sometimes we may come to blows about it. I don't know what to tell you. We're gonna go to blows and then we're gonna get back up and we're gonna eat. I'm not saying that that's healthy. I'm just saying like it was effective. And now here we are. I'm not as volatile, but I am always willing. I want us to look at confrontation as an opportunity for repair, right? But there's always that. Like, if I'm going to confront somebody about something, I'm quite usually willing to make a repair space. Like, hey, no. And let's talk about why it's a no. John's family is like yours. Yeah, see, there you go. I love that. Me and John. Like, somebody says, yeah, when it gets uncomfortable, my family stops talking. No, we're talking. We're running our mouth. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so the expansion of this is the season surfaces surfaces the rights of comfort and the one right way pillars, right? Because we really do believe there's only one way to celebrate, one way to have this conversation, one way to do this, go or not go. It's very either or as well. The dominant culture becomes the loudest, most defensive, and most demanding. It is insane how much conversation I am seeing online. And people consistently say, oh, the internet is not a real place. It's the realest place on earth, folks. Okay. People are at home in their PJs talking shit. You're never going to have a more real space where people do not feel the need to perform. And I'm not saying that, like, your influencers and that, um, or the things that like content creators, educators, etc. We share a lot of things, good, bad, and indifferent. I'm talking about everyday regular people making posts, commenting. It's an amazing sociological experiment to sit down and watch because people are super comfortable to say all the little things that pop up in their head. Taylor says, me explaining to a 4-year-old that baby Jesus is a belief of people who believe in a Christian God. Right. Even with our children, my kids, when we light an incense, they make a wish. And Morgan was like, okay, I'm going to make a wish. And she did like a little prayer. And she was like, basically, and to pray for everybody. Da, 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 da. And thank you, baby Jesus. And I was like, where did you get that from? Like, where did that come from? Right. And so we get to have that conversation. And I'm like, okay, so not everybody believes in Jesus, right? Like, and again, an opportunity, right? When we confront this, you could just turn around and say, no, don't worry about it. But when we don't, it leads to the dominant narrative taking effect and taking hold into that next generation. It is super important for them to realize not everybody believes in Christianity. Not everybody believes in Jesus. And that's fine. Right? Like I said, walking into that gas station, we're going to have the lizard brain is always going to be there. Right? What we've been programmed with. Walking into that gas station, and I'm like, surely you guys are like Muslim or something, right? Middle Eastern. What is happening right now? And I'm like, wow, that is a wild, very stereotypical thought. And what do you do with those? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you do with them? You confront them even within your own self. So even if you're not able to confront others, start confronting them within you. That was my morning thoughts before 8:30 in the morning. I'm like, I just totally went in there, racially profiled these people through their religion, their spiritual practices, what nationality they are, all of that in a span of 30 seconds walking in the door to go get 40 on 4. You know what I mean? Confront that within yourself. Start there. So, I'm going to bring it back to the article just because it's like, where the hell did the article come from? When Biden pardoned Hunter, people justified it through positionality, right? My son deserves this compassion. My family deserves protection. And holiday supremacy works the same exact way. My tradition is the default. Again, him doing that with his son was not the issue. It is ignoring the fact that there are other families who are just as deserving and that he partook in why these people are displaced from their family. There are people that are still in jail right now for some weed, while usually white people have TV shows now, Canna Moms and stuff like that. And Black and brown and poor white folks are still sitting in prison from the 90s for some reefer. That's a problem. That is a whole problem. But that is supremacy culture in play. And then when we're watching people have this political discourse around this time or any time, and they want to tell us that one is better than the other, I'm like, to whom? For whom? And are you in the position to make that decision for me? Maybe it's better for you. And hey, I love that for you, but recognize that it's for you. Okay. And when Trump ran the first time and I kept talking to white people, I was like, are you voting for liberation or your comfortability? Right. Because it's Tuesday. It's every day. It's just out in the open now. When people push these folks, again, back to that, you got to have these conversations. When people push folks off of Facebook, I was like, for what? So you can have an echo chamber, so you can be comfortable. So now I have to go take myself to Parlor and Truth Media so I could be subjected to these things because it's still happening. Now you've just created an echo chamber for them to exist in with nobody to debate them, with nobody to confront their thoughts. So pushing people to the margins is not actually beneficial. Ta-da-da. So with that, holiday supremacy works the same exact way. My tradition is the default. My language is the standard. My worldview deserves an unquestioned amount of space. Okay. Decentering oneself is super important. Decentering whiteness is super important because then you are going to be able to have a global view on things. You are not the majority nowhere but the United States of America. And the only reason why you are the majority in the United States of America is because whiteness is a construct that just keeps expanding. If it did not take over the Jewish white body people, the Irish white body people, the Italians, you would not be the majority. It just keeps expanding. It took in a couple of the Middle Eastern folks, the ones that they were comfortable with. It just keeps expanding. Other than that, you would not be the majority. So you have to really sit down and think about what does this look like to anybody else? Anybody else. Anybody else besides you. Okay. Good job. The reflection here is who becomes invisible so someone else can feel festive, right? If you are around here having this fight about Christmas or what holiday Kwanzaa's coming up, right? I go through the article there. I think that the principles of Kwanzaa are absolutely amazing for community building. Hanukkah is coming up. Those are the ones that are in my own sphere with my friends and family. Ingrid said, it's trying to take me, but I'm resisting. Ingrid, what's trying to take you, my love? And what are you resisting? How can I support you? Um, so you ask yourself, where do you abandon? I want you to ask yourself, where do you abandon your own body to make someone else comfortable during this season? If that's not your practice, if that's not your way, I don't want to be in this potluck. I don't want to do these things. Remember, respect my no like you respect my yes, right? All of these things are tying into each other. Moving through the holiday season is so exhausting. Oh, the expansion of whiteness. Oh, yeah. 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 Yep. It will, right? And there's an interpersonal fight within that expansion of whiteness. And there is just a systemic truth, right? Like, because if it just takes over your group, it just takes over your group. Because again, whiteness is not consensual, right? Like, it just is. These people did not ask for that. Oh, yeah. Dominican of mixed racial ancestry. That could be its own series on the colorism that happens within the Dominican Republic. And it's amazing to me how many people that don't even realize that Haiti and the DR are on the same piece of land. And that's how polarized systems will make people, right? Like Dominicans and Haitians are not the same indigenous people. Like, and completely. And I'm like, it's like how North America and South America, there are not two Americas. It's one continent. Those are also Americans. Like, we're United Statesians. There's a difference, right? But this is exactly what happens with polarization. You'll see it in all things. And when you start recognizing systems, when you start recognizing cycles, you will see how it keeps replicating itself. So you're not shocked every single time it comes up in another space and place. Ingrid says, yes, it's so wild. I talk to my family about unpacking that all the time. It really, really does need to be unpacked. And then even which that reminds me, I have a conversation on Facebook that I was supposed to go back to, so I'm gonna try to find that today. Um, Even within Black Americans and Dominicans, like with the whole "I know Black, I Dominican," like I yes, and like like there's a tie amongst us, and you're gonna be Black real quick on this side, right? Like you come to the United States, you're gonna find out how not Dominican you are. It's not gonna be fun for you. But and that's a whole other conversation. So listen, three. Let me take some water. Yes, here for hydration and care. How we create harm reduced spaces for people leaving these systems. This is the most key point that I wanted to get to and spend time on. Like I said, within those groups on Facebook, I am noticing like how people will leave or how people will get upset. And I'm like, what are you doing? And how are you creating spaces for people leaving? I will forever come back to the fact that supremacy culture is similar to DV. Same cycles, same ways of being. And it takes around 7 times on average for somebody who is suffering from in person. And IPV is the new terminology. It's a partnership violence. I need to Google it right quick. But domestic violence. What does IPV stand for? Because I keep saying it and I know it's wrong. Intimate partner violence. See, there we go. So, intimate partner violence or DV, it takes about 7 times for somebody to leave. And in order for them to leave, there has to be so much in place, right? And there has to be harm reduction along the way. For a person to wind up in an IPV DV situation, there has to be a history quite often, even if that's their first one, but there is a history of how they got to this point. When you look at the system of supremacy culture, it is the same way. There is a history. When we are looking at the arc of Christianity, when we are looking at from Constantine to Project 25, there is a history of the violence that it took to get to this point. There is a history to the violence that it took for us to ignore. I watched a video of a woman. I really try not to watch these videos, but of ICE arresting a white woman. Like, like white presenting, I don't know what her ethnic background is, but a white presenting woman, and people were recording. And I'm just trying to understand, how did we get to a point where we are not helping physically? There was another video, a young girl running down the street to get to her house. And supposedly these are ICE agents, but they're in plain clothes with masks. And I want to know how the hell, well, I mean, I do know, but this is how we come to a society where we could see a van roll up with men jumping out of it in plain clothes, masked, no IDs, trying to snatch women off streets. There's a history that got us to that point, that we are not even questioning it, or we're just recording it instead of jumping in and being like, what's going on? What's happening? Why are we not fighting? Right? Because at this point now, regular people, right, that are not authorized by the government, put it that way, can literally and are impersonating these people and kidnapping women. That's the reality of what we live in. And the reason why I say that is because before anybody gets to a point in IPV that they are being physically harmed, there was a lot that went into that, right? There was a breaking of their spirit. There was a forcing them to be reliant on them solely, right? Sound like the government? Yeah. Uh, for their rules, their regulations, their care. There was isolation of them, right? Again, supremacy culture separates us from ourselves, from community, from the land, from each other, all of those things. It is the same exact cycle. And in order for that person to feel safe leaving what they know, what they understand, and usually predators look for prey, sweetheart. Predators look for prey. So they're usually looking for someone that has the tell signs that they have been abused for quite some time. So that it's so much easier, right? You're not going to get somebody that has not experienced a history of trauma, of violence, and just start out, right? That's why there's those stages, right? Where it's all romantic and it's all beautiful and it's so great. And we could put this and apply this to a systemic view. And then you know how we got to this place and this space. Recognizing that will help you in creating those safe spaces, will help you in creating a way out for people. Because right now we have this amazing opportunity during these holiday during these holiday seasons. And I am not suggesting that anybody put themselves in harm's way, but if you are not going to be harmed in a way, not in the right to comfort sort of way, right? Like, because as educators, we're stepping in to spaces to be harmed, especially as Black educators, every time we talk. Right. So I'm talking about being able to gird yourself up emotionally, but being able to step into that and create those spaces, those avenues, right? Your own underground railroad, if you would, right? Those things took planning, took time, safe spaces, harm reduction. How are you talking to your family? How are you talking to your friends? Are you just letting them be isolated and pushed away? And if so, where the fuck do you think that they're going to wind up? Right back with their abuser, right? So offering that, I talk about offering grace, offering that humanity to them. Neutrality is a falsehood. Correct, Taylor. I agree. Right. So that's where that confrontation comes in. That's where that fear of open conflict has to be confronted. Where you sit down and say, you know what? No, this does not make me comfortable. I do not like that. Can we talk about this? Can we have this conversation? Where or and putting some halts on where it's comfortable, where it's not, finding that. But it's gonna take steps. You're not going again, think about your own journey to sitting here this morning. And could you have heard everything that I've said in the past 5 years, 10 years ago? And if you couldn't, then you can make space. And again, this is how you start discerning who is actually aligned with you and who is going to be safe for you in community. Right. That is, you want to dismantle those systems, you have to get those people away from those systems to dismantle them. You have to sit down and make them question them. We often talk about people are, voting against their own best interest. They're not. That is a reality that you're gonna have to deal with. They're not, as long as they are seeing you as their own enemy, right? As long as you are still calling them your abusive language, and this is specifically with white people, because again, utilizing Black people, utilizing Indigenous people for your own family issues, your your intimate partner violence is your own defense mechanism, right? I want you to recognize they voted against you. We're just the fallout. They voted against you being queer. They voted against you having the access to abortion so they can make more white babies. They voted against you not being able to marry certain people. They voted against your rights. We are the fallout. That is an internal battle. And you guys have got to start doing the work of sitting down and recognizing, oh, this is about me. They don't care if I have babies or not. That's never been a care. After enslavement, me having babies, they don't want that. They don't want that. And that's it's a fallout. Their goal is protecting whiteness as a system. Dismantling DEI, dismantling access to these sorts of things is a way of controlling white bodies. And we are the fallout. You have to sit with that truth. And then you have to do the work of confronting it. So, how we create harm reduced spaces for people leaving these systems. People are leaving religious supremacy, political supremacy, racial supremacy, believing it is not freedom. Leaving is withdrawal, and withdrawal is a somatic crisis. It is what they have known for generations. You are asking people to leave the comfort of what they have known. And you have got to be the people. If you are already outside of that cave, right? Talk about that in that 101 course. If you are already outside of that cave, if you recognize that the lighting on the wall is false and those are just images being reflected, love that for you. What are you doing for those others that can't, right? Or haven't recognized? And some people just get left in the cave. Though. This ain't that. Can't save them all. You know what I'm saying? But you do have to recognize how, right? So withdrawal is a somatic crisis. We must build spaces that people can detox from these systems that taught them certainty, hierarchy, and domination. When I spoke about this last year, I broke that piece down on how oppression spills over and harms everyone. And that includes the people who were groomed to uphold it. And I'm using this language intentionally. Good morning, Deirdre. right? When you think about it, when we do that, when you recognize that we are groomed from the beginning, that supremacy culture is not consensual, that all of these things, and it sounds so deeply disturbing because it should be, right? We are indoctrinated into these beliefs. We are all holding trauma imprints. We are all surviving traumatic experiences based in supremacy culture. That is the reality. You are not special. You do not have a fucking chokehold on trauma, right? We all experience it differently. We all experience it at different levels. And if we are going to be the ones that save each other, then we have to recognize that and expand that humanity to one another. Now, I'm not saying take any abuse. That is not my suggestion here at all whatsoever. Sue says it's so powerful to hear the truths of these interconnected systems named so bravely and precisely, and not my business. So feeling sad. I don't want you to feel sad. I want you to feel empowered, right? Because when we use these languages appropriately, when we place them on the system and place the onus on us, each other, to change and dismantle them and connect them, because that is it. We are all groomed in supremacy culture, right? Very, very specific, I'm thinking of the word, about naming supremacy culture because again, anti-racism is very important work, right? But racism is one branch of supremacy culture. You have childism, classism, gender, cis, hetero, racial hierarchy. There's so many, right? So good morning, Aaron. When we can recognize that and see that we've all been groomed and indoctrinated into a system, and those of us who are out here trying to do this work, we're giving you these keys to get the fuck out, to get out, and to use it to help others get out as well. And that is the goal. It is not to turn around and say, you're no good, and look at me, I'm the better person, right? That's either or. Still upholding those pillars, right? Look at me. I took this class in this course and I'm better than. No, you're better than you were before that class. And I love that for you. You're better than you were before you read that book. And I love that for you. You are better than the version of you. That does not make you better than a version of any damn body else. Continue to better yourself, but extend that space, what you learned, because you were not always where you were. Right. And that arc, while we go through these series, is going to show you how something started so much as a rebellion against the system, right? Against that Roman Empire. And empire just keeps on coming back because there's something that we're missing here. There's something that we're missing here. And I firmly believe for me, and it does not need to resonate for you, for me, this is that is recognizing that we're all somewhere on the journey, that we have all come from a place of not knowing to a greater knowing, to an even greater knowing, until an even greater knowing, until we just continue knowing. But in that, we will take people along the way, right? And in that, you need to have boundaries when you're taking people along the way. And sometimes you got to go back and get some folks, right? Harriet Tubman I don't know if I would have ever gone back to enslavement to go free other people. That's a crazy notion to me when I think about it, right? I'm out, I'm free. And too many people are doing that. Too many white body people are doing that with supremacy culture. You get out of this binary thinking, and you get out of, your racial hierarchy thinking, and you don't go back. You don't go back to free anybody else. And I'm not saying, because I question that. Would I go back? Right? Would I be the person that would go and place my own freedom and liberation in jeopardy to save people that may not even want to be saved? Because not everybody, Harriet did not free everybody. Everybody did not want to go. Everybody was not sure. Everybody was not like ready to go and take that trip. And that's okay. You got to leave some folks behind. But not everybody was ready to experience what freedom could possibly be. Same thing with supremacy culture, white folks. Not everybody is going to, but you got to go back. You have to go back and get them. You have to. That is part of your job of liberation is you do not get to free yourself without going to grab a couple more folks. You know what I'm saying? Sue says, I think it's okay to feel sad. This grief work is repair. It truthfully is. It is. And I'm sorry because my intent was not to dismiss your sadness. There's obviously a space here or wherever for your sadness. I just didn't want you to solely feel sad, but I wasn't trying to take away your grief at all. It is welcome here. Yeah. All right. So, leaving is withdrawal, and withdrawal is a somatic crisis. We must build spaces that help people detox from systems that taught them certainty, hierarchy, and domination. Um, so, like I said last year, when I broke down the piece about how oppression spills over and harms everyone, that includes the people who were groomed to uphold it. The people saying Merry Christmas and not Happy Holidays are not just choosing domination; they're clinging to the only identity that ever felt safe within their system. Oh, good. I'm so glad. That is what you have to recognize. They are clinging to the identity that ever felt safe within their system. When we are dismantling this system, we are recognizing that race is a construct, gender is a construct, um, uh, class is manufactured. So all of these things, right? Because you believe we have been indoctrinated and groomed into believing, like, oh, if I have a house and I can vacation 2 times a year and I put my kid through college, I'm a better person for it. This moral thing, right? I'm favored by God, whatever it is. And when you strip that away, you strip away their identity. When you tell people that gender is a construct, it's not real. You could be whatever you want. You rip away the identity that they understand. What do you mean? For generations, I've been told what it is to be a woman, and I'm a good woman. I'm a good man. I take care of my family. I work hard. I've made sacrifices because I want to be a better man. And now you're telling me it's not real. That is earth shattering to somebody. You're taking away every single thing that this system has said that they need to do in order to acquire X, Y, and Z in order to exist. And you're leaving them flat. And you're not explaining. And you're not giving them a landing space. And so they go right back to their abuser where they're validated. Yeah, you're a man. That shit's not real. Yeah. Yeah. White power. Fuck them. And that's where they go. That's where they go. Because we all need to be validated. We all need to be affirmed. That is what happens in community. And supremacy culture gave us a nuclear family and is asking for one person, two people possibly, to uphold what the entire community is supposed to do. That's not possible, my friends. All right. So, in order to help people leave, here's what we need: boundaries. Get some. Get some now. Do not go in there all willy nilly. And damn sure you need to know there's a difference between expectations and boundaries. Boundaries. Get some boundaries for yourself. Okay. Good fences make great neighbors. Okay. Get some boundaries. What do you have the capacity for? What are you willing to do? How are you willing to show up? What conversations are you willing to have? How will you have that conversation? And what's your exit plan, friend? Okay. Because there has to be hmm, you touched a boundary. I'm done. Like, we're good. Your boundaries are for you. They're not for anybody else. They're for you. Future says supremacy culture gave us the nuclear family is such an important insight. Yeah, it's fucking horrible. Like, and I mean, I'm not that the nuclear family itself is horrible. The construct of a nuclear family is horrible because it places the onus on the usually cisgendered Christian patriarchal leader to provide all of the things that a family of 4 to 5 need financially in a capitalistic hellscape, right? With no concern to his emotional well being. If he wanted to, because men can't move up in high positions without wives. You're not going to see top tier men with no wives. That's not right. Like, they're not going to hand over companies to people that they don't take serious. So they need a wife. That's their property. They need children to lord over, right? Then you demand of a woman to do those things too, look a certain way, act a certain way, bow down to that cis hetero Christian patriarchal wife, right? Who upholds that. Good, upstanding, lovely little wife who then controls the tiny little humans. And those children, then become products of this marriage, right? This business, because marriage in the United States of America is a business. Those children become products of that nuclear family, which is its own business inside of the business of America. And then what they produce becomes obviously whether I'm a good parent or not. Because it's amazing to me how parents will take all the credit for their kids' successes, but none for their failures, right? I have an amazing child who has 2 degrees. That I didn't go to not one of those classes. That's good for her. She did that work. She did that work. I made certain things possible, right? Like I made it a lot easier on her to do that work. And I will damn sure take that credit, right? You know what I'm saying? In regard to that. But we don't ever take the credit when our kid is fucked up. Right? That's what the nuclear family, then all of a sudden, that kid is a fuck up. Oh, they're strung out, they're out there doing something. Then, oh, I did all that I could. No, no, no. That's a product of you too, sweetheart. Right? You got to own all of it. But that stealing community to hand you a nuclear family is literally a business thing, right? Because when you take away community, here's what you can guarantee. If I bought into the nuclear family, have 4 children, that means 4 separate home purchases, 4 separate college degrees at least, right? Uh, so it feeds into capitalism. That's really it. 4 cars, 4 loans. Just think about it from that kind of way. It's going to keep on going. Where if we still did community, right, it'd be one home. Like, because we live intergenerationally. Right now, I'm in my cottage. My kids could stay living in my house and I could live here. I have a 1/4 acre. I could put a bunch of these tiny little houses, right? We could live smaller. We could choose a different way of being, and we're in community. Other people could come and live with us and stay with us. So, all of it, and then demanding that those things exist. And shh, we don't talk about what happens in this house. So you're excommunicated, you're isolated, and then when you're asking people to dismantle supremacy culture, they're still living in this sort of way. So you're stripping away all that they've known, right? One of the most beautiful things I love about in creating these digital community spaces is for people to see and hear out loud, like, oh, that happens in my house too. Oh, your kids are doing that too? Yeah, yeah, because they're fucking nuts. Like, and oh, yeah, today I absolutely did break down. Today I sat here and cried because parenting was so stressful. Having that community shifts a lot of different things. It also makes people feel safe to have those same experiences and share them instead of being isolated and groomed into what a family structure is supposed to look like. Timothy says my ex is from Africa and they are very much more into community and they take care of each other's kids as yeah, right? Because yes. Like because yes, that it makes so much more sense. Good morning, Reverend David. Um, Even when you look at little things, I've had this conversation when I go through the business of America. When you look at laws and legislations on things that are policed, in poor neighborhoods and very specifically in Black neighborhoods, because poverty is manufactured for Black folks very specifically, um, you had that older lady that was watching all the kids. One, because we didn't always have access to daycare. But then you started legislating that. Oh no, they need you can't have more than X amount of kids. And this is this idea that it's gonna be safe. Those people didn't give a fuck about us breeding when they were breeding us. They didn't care that we were living in one-room shacks when they were denying us homes and not allowing us bank loans and redlining us. And then all of us, so they didn't care about that when they were slamming us into project homes, keeping us in neighborhoods, bombing us in Philadelphia, right? But when you see that community, supremacy culture is always working to dismantle it. When you see that community happening, when you see Keisha braiding hair on the front stoop, oh, all of a sudden no, that's illegal. Why? I want my hair done. Now we're paying, it feeds capitalism, right? Now you got to pay all of this money for childcare or somebody needs a license and you're taking money out of the community. But all of those acts are communal. When you see people selling plates, yeah, yep, I want I want to go get a $20, dinner plate that's going to feed me and my kids and not have to go to a restaurant. That's how that works. But when you get gentrification coming in, they don't like the culture of community because what they're witnessing is community. Okay. The guy hanging out grilling at the gas station that has been doing it for 10 years, you don't like it because it's not served safe. You don't go to a neighborhood. You don't take over. Go to a neighborhood that has, go to the barbecue restaurant. Like, don't come here changing it because what you're actually changing is community and how we hold each other through these times. We're going to survive just fine. There could be a full on economic collapse. But we'll get through because that has been the reality for many of us who are marginalized in this land for a very long time. It's why you don't see us losing our shit. Okay? All right, let me try to wrap this up. So, leaving supremacy culture isn't stepping into freedom, it's stepping into disorientation, right? Like, where am I? Who am I? Right? It is this becoming. It is a complete stripping of everything you've groomed into, everything you've been indoctrinated into, everything that you've been taught. Right? Even as we go through this series of decolonizing God, basically, everything that you've been taught about Christianity, again, flattened. It's propaganda, right? Enough truth to be believable, but flattened. So same thing with your identities and leaving supremacy culture, right? So it's stepping into disorientation. Your job is not to soothe their fragility though, right? You don't have to do that. You could recognize that this is what it is and name it. I want to give you this language so you can name it. Oh my God, but what am I going to do? Okay, come take a breath. Like, take a breath. Take a pause. Gather round. Like, this is not that. Let me tell you what you're experiencing, right? You're feeling disoriented. You're feeling uncomfortable. Everything that you've been told is a lie. And that is not easy. That is grief. That is trauma that you're going to bring up. And being able to have that conversation is super important because what you can't do is just start yelling at people, telling them something, and then just leave them there disoriented. Like, you got to be more responsible with your activism, friends. Okay. Your job is not to soothe their fragility, but it is to offer roots, reflection, and reality. Right? You're sitting down, you're having that conversation, you're at Christmas, and like the jokes start flying, and you're like, okay, pause. Listen, I know that shit was hilarious. I chuckled a little myself. Like, I grew up in that time. Like, but maybe, just maybe, we stop doing that shit now. Right? Because it's just not cool. Oh, nobody's here. I don't care. You know, here's what I teach my children. Integrity is what you do when nobody's watching. So you're going to form integrity or you're going to actually have some integrity because I can't sit through it. Okay. The reality is the shit is fucked up. It's not cool. It's not funny. A little funny, but not really. It's a little funny because we grew up so fucking macabre. Like, it's not actually funny. Like, if the person you were telling that joke about is not going to laugh, it's not funny. If they could be harmed, not funny. Back to harm reduction, right? Not funny. So the reframe is leaving, sir. Oh, I said that. It's offering roots, reflection, and reality. So the reflection I want to give you for yourself is where are you still performing for a system that you're walking away from? And what kind of community do you need to feel supported as you unlearn? Okay. I want you to ask yourself that very specifically, that last one. What sort of community do you need in order to unlearn? Oh, thank you. Gilda says, I love your discussion. I appreciate that. Thank you. So, because if you need that type of environment, if you enjoy the environments that I create and I have wherever I go, and this is pretty much how I am wherever I go. If you met me in person, I am exactly who I am right here. If you come to a class, if you join the community, if you can't, anywhere I go, there the fuck I am. Think that's it, right? So if you are enjoying those spaces, right, like where it feels like, oh, I could ask these questions, I could be wrong, I could do these things, I want you to create the same space for other people, right? I am modeling what I would like for you to do. I am not saying that I am the only one that could do this. You can too, right? You have that space, you have that ability, learn your capacity, get you some boundaries. You can absolutely do this work. You have to think about what do you need to feel safe to unlearn and then offer it to them. If they don't want it, that's fine. And you don't have to turn around. And please, for the love of God, during this holiday season, do not use us. Do not use us at your holiday table. Do not use us at your holiday table as the reason why you don't go home, you don't talk to your aunt and your uncles. It's lazy activism. Do not use racism as the reason why, because you did not give two flying fucks about racism in 2021. Okay. You were still unpacking your own racism. Okay. So please let's not do that. I want you to deal with the reality of your own family systems and recognize I don't want to be at my holiday table because I don't like these people, because these people were harmful to me. Because if they are being racist, they are most likely homophobic, anti Semitic, classist. There's like a lot of things that they are, right? But using Black folks as your scapegoat to not confront your family systems is fucking lazy. It's lazy. It's lazy because Black folks have to navigate their family systems too. And some of us are mixed and have to navigate those same aunts and uncles. And we do. It's lazy activism. So please spare me the performance of I don't talk to Uncle Bob because he's a racist fuck. Uncle Bob's been a racist fuck your entire life. Please recognize you don't talk to Uncle Bob because he's a schmuck and he treats you terribly. And your job is to confront the fact that he treats you like shit because he's a patriarchal asshole and he thinks that you're less than. And that is your confrontation. Please do not use us. Thank you. Okay. So before I run up and go bring my baby her teacher's gift, I want you to take a breath, stretch it out because that's super heavy. Roll your little shoulders. Ow. It's one of those funky shoulder roll. Stretch your legs if you're sitting, if you're standing, do whatever you need to do, right? But get into yourself. All right. I will add in some more things for the replay. And I just want you to know that you can get through this and any other season. But I'm being very intentional about this season because so much grief, so much trauma comes up from November until January because there is so much pressure to be a new year, new you, do all the things. And you're looking around and you're like, I have done nothing with my year. No, you've done plenty with your year. Sometimes nothing is enough also, right? Don't worry about what can show up. Don't worry about what doesn't show up or who doesn't show up. Focus on yourself, your needs, and building community, right? That is really what you have to do. It's just that simple. And give people spaces to land softly. Okay. I love you guys. I will be back on Wednesday. Wednesday? Let me see. Yes, Wednesday, because today is Monday. I need coffee. All right. I love you guys for real. And I will have the replay ready in a little bit. Bye.